At this point in class, we are building our design and modeling skills. We learned how to make a sketch, an initial sketch of a design idea. We learned how to expand upon that sketch and draw a multi-view, more detailed sketch. We've been practicing with some measuring skills and reviewing that. And the next step is to then add those dimensions to our drawings so that we can take it to the next step, which is actually creating a model of our design. So dimensioning is simply taking measurements of what's going to be the real object and putting it on the drawing so that everybody can understand what the drawing is and what the model will look like. So your goal for this lesson is to be able to use international dimensioning guidelines to correctly measure and label multi-view sketches. So these are guidelines that are used in the design world worldwide. There are some rules that you need to follow, which is probably the hardest part of this. The actual measuring and writing the dimensions aren't so hard, but remembering exactly where to put everything is a little tricky. It is helpful if you take notes. You can write these notes right into your notebook on the next blank page after your measuring. Okay, so what does dimension look like? Again, dimensioning is simply adding sizes, adding the measurements to your multi-view drawing. So here you can see the isometric drawing of this object. We've got the top view here, front view, and right side view, standard multi-view drawing. And now we have some additions, we have some measurements added. There are some characteristics of all dimensions that you want to pay close attention to. Notice that each dimension has these guidelines on the outside. These show the actual contour or piece of the object that you are measuring. So here you can see that we're measuring the total length of this object and also the total depth of this object. You'll also notice that there are arrows. These are standard and you should include these. They're lines broken to include the measurement with arrow tips connecting to the guidelines. This is for circles only, so this little symbol here indicates that you are showing the size of a circle. Not sure if we'll use that at all, but it kind of depends on your designs later on in the quarter. And then finally here in our right side view, we are showing the overall height, but they do follow the same steps. Now the really important thing about dimensioning is that you show the overall width, height, and depth of the object. So here we have a little more complicated object. Still, it's got a circle in it, so you can see how that would look on a picture. But it's got a little bit more complicated shape. So here if we look at the top of it, the top view always shows the overall depth. So you can see that in green, we're looking at the overall depth of the object. So if you were thinking about how wide it is and how much space it takes up, excuse me, this view should always show that. We have two different contours on this. So we have the overall depth, so from here to here, and then we have this protrusion here. So we want to make sure we show both, the depth of both. You wouldn't show this size, that would be considered over dimensioning, because it's pretty easy to figure out. If we have one here and this is 0.5, this one is 0.5, so we wouldn't need to show that. In red, you see the overall width of the object, and that is always shown on the front view. The front view is going to give us our best picture of the width of an object. So here again, we've got the total width, but we also include the width of those contours. So we've got that piece that sort of sticks out here, and we want to make sure we show that. Again, we don't have to show the other side because we can figure that easily. This case here, we have an additional measurement, and the reason for that is it's showing the location of the circle. So from the outside line here, the center of the circle is located 0.75 in. And again, we're looking at the size of the circle here. In blue, finally, we have the overall height of the object, and that is always attached to the right side view. The right side view is going to give you always the overall height of the object. So here you have the total height, and then we have the height or the location of that contour that's sticking out right here. Again, we don't over dimension, we don't have an extra one here showing that 0.5 because we can figure that out. Notice that the circle location is shown here because this view gives us the best view of that circle. It's not included here. All right, now for some rules. These are international rules of dimensioning. So make sure again that you either write these down or are remembering that these rules do apply to every drawing. We do have a little cutoff here with my picture, but I'll go over that. So the first rule is dimensions should not be duplicated. You should never show a dimension more than once throughout your entire drawing. Okay? Nor should the same information be given in two different ways. You want to simplify your drawing and only include each measurement once. So notice here in our top view, we're always going to give our overall depth. So we're looking at this view where we're just showing the footprint of our object. The front view in this case is going to be the most complicated because it shows the most detail. So we're looking at all these details. It is going to show us our overall width of our object. So we do have three different widths here. We have our overall width, we have the width from here to here, and then we have this small contour here. Note that we don't have to show this one because we can figure that out. And finally, we show the overall height of the object. This is our right side view. However, we did include some extras here because this view shows the best picture of that contour. So we do have height here and height here because you can't really see it here in this view. Next rule. This one kind of goes along. Dimensions should be attached to the view, and it's hidden here. Best shows the contour of the feature to be dimensioned. So just a reminder that this dimension shows the depth. No other dimension is going to show you that. Here we have the best view of all these widths. So this view is the best to show the width. The right side is always going to be your best one to show height. However, in this case, since we have these odd contours, though, this view is the best to show those two heights. Whenever possible, locate the dimensions between adjacent views. Sorry about the covering up there. I can only place my video in one spot. So what that means is it's always really going to be towards the inside of the drawing. So it's always going to be between here and very rarely on the outsides. This is an exception here because this is the only place to show that. You would not put it over here. So it's the only place to show that. Otherwise, you always put your measurements on the inside. You would never have them out here, out here. They're always in between. Okay. Are we ready to quiz ourselves? So here we've got a dimensioned drawing, but there are some problems with it. There are two duplicate dimensions. So go ahead and pause the video here and locate the two duplicate dimensions. Okay, but hopefully you saw that this one is listed here and here. So we oh, excuse me, here and here, sorry. It's here showing the depth, which is the appropriate place to put it, and here showing the depth, which is not appropriate. It should not be located on the height side. The other one is this 0.5. It's actually shown multiple times here. Here, this is appropriate because we're seeing the height of that piece. It should not be listed both here and here, though. So here we have, oh, excuse me, not here and here. So here we have the height of this piece, and here we have the height of this piece. We can actually figure that out. We don't need it to be listed twice. So the most appropriate place for that is here. This is fine because it is showing the depth of that contour. Next question. Now, locate the incorrectly placed dimension. So which one is in the wrong spot? Go ahead and pause your video and see if you can identify it. Hopefully you saw that this dimension here is incorrectly placed. The rule is to place it in between whenever possible, and this one should have been placed over here, which is the correct place. This is okay out here because it's the easiest place to show the location of that circle. You don't want to put it out here and then draw your lines all the way through the picture. You do want to avoid drawing lines through your drawings. So this is the best situation here. This is not. Last question. Locate again the incorrectly placed dimension. Pause the video and see if you can find it. Hopefully you saw that this is the incorrect measurement. This shows the overall depth of the object, which should be placed on the top view. So that dimension should be here, showing the correct depth of the object, and not shown on the height. The rest of them look pretty good, showing the correct space. These width ones could also be placed here, but it's fine here as well. So let's try dimensioning some of your drawings.